Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. You're probably just as excited for Wuthering Waves release as I am. Laser! Okay, we gotta laser him. Yeah! I'm just gonna be a Pokemon trainer, guys. So here is the obligatory many tips for beginners and gotcha veterans alike for Wuthering Waves. If you're wondering what I've been up to, well, I've been completely addicted to Excel. Yeah, the giant nerd in me can't help but be completely mesmerized by the funnest part of any new game, math. So while I've been trying to figure out all the different mechanics while not even being able to play the game, I've also been jotting down a ton of notes, which should hopefully prove to be helpful for many of you. Now it goes without saying that this information is based on my experience with the closed beta 2, of which I beat every hologram boss on difficulty 5, pushed through part of the hardest part in the game, the tower, and just spent way too much time playing, to be completely honest. I made many mistakes and learned a lot from those mistakes. And also, my closed beta 2 experience was a fully free-to-play experience. So here are however many tips in this video that everyone should know when playing Wuthering Waves. And hey, before you skip this part, this game actually looks really good. Today's sponsor, Once Human. Once Human is bringing over its AAA quality experience from PC to mobile. QR code on the screen for you to pre-register. With over 256 square kilometers to explore, Once Human is the best multiplayer open-world fantasy survival game set in a post-apocalyptic world that I've seen. Journey through the bizarre world of Eternaland, where you'll encounter peculiar and surreal eldritch sentinels, ranging from small and nimble to haunted refrigerators to my personal favorite, a massive hexapedal bus. And everyone now can hop aboard, as Once Human is not only free to play, but it's super free to play friendly. No pay to win. Once Human will also be cross-platform, allowing you to play on both mobile and PC, and also with your friends no matter what platform they're on. But wait, that's not all. Your registration is available now for both Android and iOS. And it's already reached the top 12th spot on most wishlisted on Steam and already has over 370,000 Discord members. Just smash that link down below to pre-register today. Huge thanks to Once Human for sponsoring today's video. Before we continue, please keep in mind that this is based on my closed beta 2 experience. Things are absolutely subject to change, and if any of the advice that I've given is inaccurate, I will update it in the pinned comment below. That being said, I did my best to provide advice that is generally applicable regardless of what changes occur. Also, do check out Rivenus's YouTube channel. He's an up and rising Wuthering Waves creator, as he's been super helpful and some of the data that I reference here was compiled by him. A huge thanks to him, be sure to check him out. Now, after making the hardest choice in the game between selecting the male MC or female MC, you get isekai'd into the wonderful world of Wuthering Waves as a rover. Our good girl Rover here needs to actually progress in the game, and as such, tip number 1 is regarding account progression. Similar to adventure rank level in Genshin Impact, and yes, I will be referencing Genshin Impact as well as using B-roll from Genshin Impact when it's basically the same thing because I don't have enough B-roll. Anyway, progress in Wuthering Waves is tied to your onion level. Peeling back the layers of this onion level, the most important thing in the early game is to level up your onion level, as this unlocks character level caps, increases rewards obtained from spending stamina, and allows you to progress through the actual story. As such, once you finally meet this scruffy middle-aged man at some point early on in your adventure, you're able to spend your stamina, aka wave plates as they are called in this game. You'll want to avoid capping your stamina, as every stamina point that is capped is thus wasted and you are not getting onion experience with that stamina. So be sure to spend your stamina when possible. You get 7.5 onion experience per wave plate spent. Wave plates generate at a rate of 1 per 6 minutes or 240 per day. So with a max cap of 240 wave plates, this means that you should log on roughly once to perhaps 2 times a day to spend your wave plates. This also means you'll get a whopping 1800 onion experience every day just from spending your stamina. Another crucial source of onion experience are the daily quests, which, while in closed beta 2, provided a whopping 2000 onion experience. So spending your stamina by logging in a couple times a day and doing your dailies are critical for account progression. You'll also get these fragile resin equivalents, which right now I forgot what they're called, that provide 60 wave plates each. Personally, I recommend waiting until Adventure rank 40 to spend these for better stamina efficiency, but it's honestly not a huge deal either way. And that leads me to my next tip, which is for most players to avoid using your Asterites, aka the premium currency, on stamina refreshes. Now, I am a whale and also a content creator, so I'll be using these stamina refreshes, where you can also catch me live here wasting all my money on YouTube when the game comes out. Hey, there's something shiny. Do I need a short character or what? But for free-to-plays and most players in general, refreshing your stamina will reduce the number of pulls you're able to do. For example, if you refresh one time every single day, you'd have spent about 1500 Asterites on refreshes, which is nearly an entire 10 pulls worth of Asterite. By simply being patient, you will get more stamina and more dailies for your onion layers. But unless you swipe that credit card, you'll probably be starved for Asterites when the next new shiny waifu comes around the corner. Concurrently with onion level, you also have a Pokédex level, where the more Pokemon you catch, the higher Pokédex level you have. In Wuthering Waves, beating up the local adorable critters, like this cute mushroom-headed toadstool larper riding a motorcycle, gives you a chance to catch them as an echo. Echoes are essentially equivalent to artifacts, as well as you're able to transform into them in combat. Alright, I want to use the golem from a distance. Yeah, oh wait, no. I couldn't turn it. Leveling your Pokédex is crucial for catching stronger Echomons, so you can then be an Echomon master. And you might think, well, you've already caught Squirtle already, so why should I beat it up again? But Squirtle can actually come as 4 different rarities, all of which each add an entry to your Echo Dex. In other words, just murder everything you come across in the overworld. There are some more nuances, like not being able to get gold Echo rarities until a sufficiently high Echo Dex level, but for now, this should help you in your journey, so you don't skip out on murdering every little critter that you see. Also keep in mind that you can't catch the human enemies. Speaking of murdering everything, you'll also want to pillage everything. See that shiny mint-like looking plant? Go pick it. In the early game, there's a surprising number of actually useful uses for account progression for all sorts of seemingly useless items. Bring out the inner pirate and murder and loot everything in your path. Adding another layer onto the onion leveling, I recommend grabbing every quest that you see. This is helpful because oftentimes you can kill multiple birds with one stone, aka do multiple quests on your path through various quests. These quests are a crucial source of onion experience, and can honestly be missed if you walk past them. So just grab them when you see them, as now you'll have added it to your quest log and can just go do them whenever you actually have some time. Finally, make sure to use your map pins. Sometimes you'll walk past a shiny thing on the map that you can't really find right now, and that's okay. Just put a marker on it so that way you can come back later to look more thoroughly to solve or find whatever it is this thing is. This is really helpful for keeping track of the Oculuses you might have missed, as finding the last few that you don't have can be really painful. So I'll be keeping this team building section on the shorter side because I do want to make a more dedicated video on this topic. However, since not everyone who is watching this video will see that video, which by the way, you'll have a higher likelihood of not missing out on such crucial information if you just liked and subscribed, then at least some high-level tips about team building are warranted. Team building is actually quite tricky for a free-to-play player, because there are so many beautiful husbandos and waifus that you want to use, but only enough resources for literally a couple of them. In the early game, it's honestly not a big deal if you level a few characters to level 20 and don't end up using them, as going up to character level 20 is just 3% of the resources to get to just level 70. So really, don't stress too much about these super early game resources. I see a lot of people stressing out over min-maxing everything and playing super optimally, but the worst case scenario at this stage in the game is that you've wasted a few dozen stamina of resources to try something new. And by the way, this data was provided by Rivenus And again, be sure to check out his channel for a lot of data on this game. And this advice also applies to your echoes too, which are equivalent to Genshin Impact's artifact system. Once you start getting purple echoes, it's fine to level a few of them with correct main stats. This will get you familiar with the system, and I even still used a few purple echoes at Onion level 45 at the end of my closed beta 2 journey. A good purple echo with 3 to 4 good substats is perfectly usable for a very long time. Besides the tuners, which are special items that add substats to your echoes, for purple echoes are separate from the gold tuners used for gold echoes. On top of that, you also retain about 80-ish or so % of the experience that you put into leveling these purple echoes. So when you inevitably feed your 4-star echo to your 5-star echo, you'll still retain most of the experience used. My point here is, while you shouldn't go crazy leveling up every single purple echo that you find, if you find a couple purple echoes with the correct main stat for your main DPS, it's not a big loss to level them up to make your early to mid-game journey much smoother. While it is okay to experiment with characters in the super early game, after pulling your first 5-star character, I do start to recommend starting to focus your resources on who you would actually like to commit to. Because the final endgame tower mode, which is equivalent to Genshin Impact's Abyss mode, needs 3 separate teams. Everyone will absolutely need at least 3 DPS characters. And having a couple healers or buffers is also a safe bet. As such, knowing this in the early game, I recommend focusing on 1 to 2 DPS characters, and either Verena or Baiju since they are the only healers in the game currently. With this focus, you'll be well positioned to eventually dedicate some investment to a 2nd or 3rd DPS down the road, and have plenty of other flexible slots to consider for sub DPS or dual DPS setups. In other words, try to avoid spreading your resources too thin past the early game if what you care about is actually completing the harder content in this game. Now, we know why most of us start to play games like Wuthering Waves. It's for collecting these amazing looking waifus and husbandos. And we need to sacrifice our souls to the gacha gods, which by the way, you'll definitely have better luck if you smash that subscribe button. Characters come in 4-star and 5-star rarities, with 5 stars being much more rare. This is where you'll be spending most of your Asterites, aka Primo Gems, and Wuthering Waves, gambling and praying that your desired character graces you with their presence. Closed Beta 2 had a beginner's banner where you would get a guaranteed random standard banner 5-star character in 50 pulls at a 20% discounted pull rate. And I've seen rumors of this new beginner selector banner, which wasn't in Closed Beta 2, which honestly changes a lot. So does this mean that the other beginner's banner is gone, or is this even accurate? Yada yada, but generally speaking, you want to get your first 5-star from one of the beginner banners, and then you can start building your account around that. As for the other banners, there's the permanent standard banner, permanent standard weapon banner, featured character banner, and featured weapon banner. Fortunately, both the permanent standard banner and featured 5-star character banner only contain 5-star characters from what I remember. For the featured 5-star character banner, aka Ji-Yan's banner upon release, there was a hard pity for a 5-star character at 80 pulls, with a 50% chance you'll get the featured 5-star character. And if you lose the 50-50 chance and get one of the standard 5-star characters, the next 5-star character you get will be guaranteed to be the featured 5-star character. This system is very similar to Genshin Impact's. Your pulls and pity also come over to the next featured character banner. So if you lost the 50% chance to get Ji-Yan, then the next time you pull a 5-star character on a featured banner, even if it's the next banner, you're guaranteed to get that featured character. Again though, we'll have to verify this information on release, so be sure to check the comments down below. For the standard weapon banner, you can actually select the weapon you want and are guaranteed to get the weapon that you select. However, we get a 5-star weapon selector from these weapons on the standard weapon banner for free at Onion level 45, so this is not a banner that I personally recommend for most people. And finally, we have the featured weapon banner, which is the signature weapon of the featured character. Although it can be used, of course, on other characters with the same weapon type. A nice feature about Wuthering Waves is that the featured weapon banner guarantees you the weapon on it, and there's no chance to get any other 5-star weapon in the game. Now, all these specifics again could change with the official release, as this was all what I saw in Closed Beta 2. Again, check the comments down below if you're watching this after release to see if anything changed, or heck, just look in the actual game. Anyway, for most people, it's recommended to primarily invest your asteroids into the featured 5-star character banner. Since pull count crosses into the next banner, this means that any pulls you invest into this banner provides permanent, long-term account progression for collecting some of the best characters in the game, aka the featured 5-star characters. Granted, I totally understand and recommend actually prioritizing getting your first standard banner 5-star character sooner than later, as this will help you determine who you should invest your resources into sooner than later. But after that, you should really start to focus on the featured character banner. Anyway, this is the part that you've likely been waiting for. How do you actually get more pulls? There are some super obvious ones like check your in-game mail for rewards, check your achievements, open chests, do quests, level up your adventurer's handbook and Pokédex, and participate in the events. But here are a couple less obvious ones. Remember my tip about picking everything up? When you craft and cook a bunch of stuff, this levels up your crafting and cooking levels, which also provides you up to 400 asteroid. And a lot of the seemingly useless stuff that you picked up is actually useful for this reason. And according to Rivenus, who made a full video on this topic, which I actually recommend checking out, it should be theoretically possible to get a total of 90 standard pulls, 20 featured banner pulls, and over 22,000 asteroid in the first 30 days, which is around 250 pulls. Now this assumes that you do literally every quest, find literally every chest, and finish literally every puzzle within the first month to get every asteroid, which is definitely a bit too hardcore even for me. But all this information and more can be found at Rivenus' channel, so again, check him out if you haven't already. My next tip is in regards to some weapons. It appears that we're also getting 2 weapon selector boxes, a 4-star weapon box and a 5-star standard weapon banner box at onion level 45. Personally, I recommend waiting after you do a batch of pulls and after you've decided on which characters you plan to build before using these weapon boxes. You'll be getting 4-star weapons in your pulls as well, and many of those weapons are very competitive to the 4-star weapon selector box. But once you've depleted most of your early game pulls, this is a good time to see which 4-star weapons you are missing in order to select one that fills in the gap. Also, in the hardest gameplay mode, the Tower of Whatever, you are able to swap weapons onto different teams. At least it was this way in closed beta 2 and will hopefully remain this way on release. So that means picking your 5-star weapon at onion level 45 for multiple of your DPS characters could be the way to go. Anyway, my advice is to wait a bit until we figure out some better advice for these weapon boxes, or until you're pretty certain you know who you plan to invest heavily into. Oh, and there are also craftable 4-star weapons, so yeah, do keep that in mind too. And the next tip is what I would consider to overall be the most important tip. Let's say you've just joined a 42-kilometer run, or 26 miles for my fellow hamburger slurpers, and you start off sprinting as fast as you can. Well, you're going to be sorely disappointed as you're barely any closer to that finish line. Wuthering Waves is a marathon and not a sprint. A dedicated free-to-play player can expect to be around onion level 40 to 45 in a month or so, and trying to rush this can lead to poor financial decisions. It's easy to fall into the psychological traps that these types of games provide. You'll start to be tempted to refresh your stamina to level up your character just a bit more, pull on banners that you probably shouldn't, and then possibly even swipe that credit card to reach the finish line just a little bit faster. And well, there's honestly nothing wrong with this, as, well, it's what I'm going to be doing. And for those that, want to support the game. But for free-to-plays, I highly recommend patience. In Genshin Impact, longtime free-to-play players are able to complete the hardest content in the game, and if they're not able to complete it, I actually think it's bad game design. Wuthering Waves will likely be similar, and even if it's not, well, you're honestly not missing out on that much besides a few asteroid here and there. Yes, the game is shiny and GN's thighs are shiny, but time will fly by faster than you expect, and you'll reach that finish line just like the rest of us. And this leads me to my last tip. Don't sweat it. Yes, this might be a bit contradictory to my earlier min-maxing sweating tips, but first of all, Wuthering Waves is a game. Sure, you might regret getting a certain 5-star character or building a certain character. I personally regretted building Genshin in the closed beta 2, and I also personally regret pulling GN because Yinlin is definitely more my type. But anyway, my point is your stamina will refresh, you'll get more asteroids, characters will likely rerun, and everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, well, you can just uninstall. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Either way, don't worry too much, you won't ruin your account, and most importantly, have fun. Also, huge thanks to Rivenous for a lot of the great information that I use in this video, and huge thanks to Once Human for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.